I'm ready.
Okay. You look at the camera, not at me.
Okay.
Okay? And it's our pleasure to come here and interview you today for the Jewish Stanford Historical Society on December 23rd, 2010. My camera person is Gail G. Trell, and I know we're going to find out some very interesting things that you have to tell us about your life. Let's start out by telling me, where did your parents, were they born in this country? Were they born in
They were
Europe?
both born in New York City.
Where did they originate from? Do you
My
know?
grandparents originated basically Poland, Vienna, that area
Uh-huh.
in Europe.
And when did so your parents were born in this country?
Both of them were born in this country,
Where were they born?
in New York City, proper.
So
Manhattan,
were both,
actually.
So they were both educated in this country as well.
Right, right. My mother went through high school, actually it was Washington Irving High School in New York, took a job as a secretary, and while she was there she thought she knew as much as the lawyers, so she went to law school. So she graduated from Brooklyn Law School in 1920s.
Your mother was really progressive.
It certainly was. She was quite a lady.
Yeah.
My father went to City College and started out as a teacher at Stuyvesant High School, a history teacher. And the money there was very little. And he decided he would become a lawyer. And his first case was more than he earned for a whole year as a teacher.
Where did he go to law school?
He went to NYU. And I guess he graduated from college in 1917, so it must have been in the early 1920s that he also became a lawyer.
So was he in the First World War?
No, he was too young.
And where did your parents meet?
At Arcady Country Club on Lake George. And actually my father courted my mother by taking her out in a canoe. My mother couldn't swim well. So
That
it
was very adventurous.
Yes, he read her poetry.
Uh,
She always talked about that. I don't know any more about the courtship.
he was very romantic, it sounds like.
Yes, I think he was. I really think he was. He was sensitive in that sense.
And do you have brothers and sisters?
I had one brother. He was 2 years younger than I, and he died in 2007. So it's been fairly recent.
And what were their names?
My my father was Harry Stern. My mother was Sylvia Taubenhaus, and my brother's name was Alfred. It was a rather small
Are
family.
they still living?
None.
And where were you born?
In Lenox Hill Hospital, Manhattan.
That was
68.
also very much ahead of the time. So many babies were born in homes at that time.
That's right. I think you're right.
Yeah. And where did you go to school?
Well, I went several schools. Started out at 82nd Street, PS 9, then went to PS 166, and then I went to Joan of Arc Junior High School. That becomes interesting because I went back and taught there later. I went on to Hunter High School, Hunter College, Brown University, NYU. That's my entire...
And where did you and Bernie meet?
B'nai Jeshurun. We both came from two different youth clubs, and we were there to listen to Passover music.
Hmm.
And it was there that I saw him on one side, and he must have seen me on the other. He was smoking a pipe at the time, and we met there, and the interesting part was his sister wanted to introduce us. I had her son, Martin Siskin, in my class as a math student. Not much of a student always, but he was very nice as a child. And she said, I have a math, well, how did she say it? Martin has a math teacher I want you to meet. She was PTA president. He said, I will have nothing to do with teachers. So this was when we finally did meet. He said, oh, you're the one
That would have nothing to do with teachers.
that my sister wanted to introduce me to. And the romance started there.
Did you grow up in a very observant home?
Not very. It was observant, but not very.
What would you
My father was
conservative, reform?
conservative. My grandfather was a cantor, so that we had background in terms of Hebrew. I guess we went to Park Avenue Synagogue because Grandpa had been a cantor at 82nd Street Synagogue, which combined with Park Avenue Synagogue, and therefore we were there.
Park Avenue was originally on Second Avenue?
Originally, right, was in 2nd Avenue, and then when I went there, they were on Madison Avenue, between Madison and Park. In fact, I was offered when we were married, I was offered the first aliyah that they gave to women
That was,
at Park Avenue, which
that
was
was
a while
really
ago.
ahead of time,
That again.
yeah. Where did Bernie go to school?
Bernie went to someplace in George Washington Heights. That was his public school. And then he was in the 108th Street. It was a junior high school. I forget the number. And then he went on to, was it George Washington? And then Dwight. And then finally to NYU, where he graduated. And
What was Bernie's occupation?
salesman. Children's clothing.
Uh-huh. Did you encounter any anti-Semitism, or did you grow up in a very Jewish section like a lot of New York people did?
We didn't have too much anti-Semitism. Your friends were all Jewish.
That's
The
what I'm
area-
saying.
You're right.
In New York, most everybody grew up in a Jewish section.
You walked down Broadway, you knew 90% of the people.
You were on the west side,
Yes,
which has now become fashionable. again.
very fashionable. It went through a dip, but for a while.
Right. After you got your education, what did you do?
I came back from Brown, and I had just gotten my master's, and I went looking for a teaching job. One of the requirements my father made when I went to college was I could take any major I wanted, but I had to take the education courses so that I was prepared.
You have a job.
Right, exactly. And in those days, there were only a few occupations that women went into.
That's right.
So I did take the education, but I took the high school level. And then I started looking when I came back. There weren't any jobs except in Staten Island for high school math teachers. So I walked back to Joan of Arc, which had been the junior high school that I had gone to,
Where's Joan of Arc?
on 93rd Street between Amsterdam and Columbus. And at that point, I wore all the necessary pins that I had earned, like the Phi Beta key, so I exhibited myself and came to see the principal. She offered me a job, and the interesting thing, they didn't need a full math teacher, so I taught half-time math and half-time art.
Are you an,
Well,
are you an artist?
Well, in college I had an art math major, and I have painted since on and off, but it was easier for me to do math than to do art. So I started at Joan of Arc, and I had a wonderful time. She was a progressive principal, and after a year or so I had a full math program, and eventually I became math chairman. And I had all kinds of students. That was the agreement. You had a class that was difficult, an average class, and a bright class. So you had a chance to meet them all. And the most interesting, I think, of the whole group was the most difficult class. I had them for 3 years. And in the last year, I knew I was getting them, and as a, what would you call it, a homeroom teacher, which meant you were put in charge. And I said to them, I'm asking for you, would you like me to be your homeroom teacher in the 9th grade? So that we agreed, and it was an easier time. There's a long story which I won't give you of how I took the class from 93rd Street and Amsterdam to Staten Island for a trip. And the one young man that gave me the worst trouble, his name was Robert Paz, I can't forget it. I met him in college many years later. He was standing on the street and I was about to put a quarter in my car, in the
Archimeter.
meter. And I saw the policeman's feet on the floor and I looked up. He said, "I'll pick that up for you, Miss Stern." And he didn't know I had married. And he said, "You won't remember me." I said, "Give me your name." "Robert Paz." So he said, he had grown to be a very fine young man, though a couple of others were executed, and we had real problems from that group. Interesting class.
When you say they were difficult, was a difficult class, were they retarded? Were they
No,
just disruptive?
basically disruptive, not interested in education, so they were fighting education. And of course, if you fight education, you fight math.
Right. When did you and Bernie get married?
1953, December 24th, which is like tomorrow.
Yes.
We were married 56 years. It would have been 57 tomorrow.
And your children?
3 children.
What are they like?
Wonderful, of course. Well, I have my oldest daughter, Karen. She went to the schools in Stamford and has 2 lovely children. One girl just 16 and the boy 10. I have a son, Lee, who's the middle child, and I have the youngest daughter, Lisa, and she has 3 children. 14, 11, 7. And it's a wonderful family.
And you still active in any fields?
Me?
Yes.
Yes. Boating, the shul, and lecturing.
What do you lecture?
I lecture on pirates. I lecture on lighthouses. And I lecture sometimes, this year it's going to be a program on math, circle and a triangle.
A circle and a triangle.
Right,
That
2
sounds-
lectures.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah, it's the same group that,
Yes. Learning in retirement.
right. I've also done some at Norwalk Community. I do some tutoring on the side, which I enjoy.
You have a degree beyond your master's.
I have my PhD,
Where did you get that?
NYU.
What brought you to Stanford?
Well, we were in New York, had a lovely apartment, and our accountant suggested that we look for a house. He figured it was a better way to put your money, better place to put your money. So we started looking. We had no requirements to go anywhere. We looked in Jersey, we looked on Long Island, we looked in Stamford, because we knew, as I said before we started this, that Bernard's sister's family, husband's family, lived up in Connecticut. And we looked at some houses, but houses here were out of reach at that time. One time we came up, let me think, oh, I remember. We came up to see Molly and, no, it was Muriel and Saul Siskin, and we wanted to have a picture framed as relatives, and we sat there talking. We told them we were looking at houses and why we weren't looking hard here. And a woman said to us, "My daughter is selling a house. Let me take you up there. Let me show it to you." "No, we're going home another time." She insisted. So "I'll lead you." She drove us here. Unfortunately, her daughter was getting divorced, so the house had some availability. We said, well,
Was it this house?
this house. We went away for the summer, and Bernard gave the bank, because you needed a mortgage, and mortgages weren't too easy to get, what he thought he would pay for the house. And when we came back from the country, we got a call from the young lady that she was ready to sell. We had offered a certain amount, and it was within her range. And at the same time, we had a letter that the mortgage was available. So that's how we actually came into Stamford. We were excited. We came in '68 in the fall, and my kids started school. Lee started kindergarten, and Karen must have been in about the 4th grade. Karen had been going to Ramaz before that, so that was quite a switch.
So where did they go to school? Davenport Ridge?
No, it was Northeast. Davenport Ridge wasn't
Wasn't built.
built. By the time Lee got involved, and Lisa, they went to Davenport Ridge. Then they went on to Stamford High, and partly to RIP. But they all graduated essentially from Stamford High.
And they're all around here?
Not exactly.
Wh-
Karen lives in Clinton.
Where?
Clinton.
Oh, okay.
And Lisa lives up a little south of Burlington, Addison, Vermont. So 6 hours away is not so close.
Now,
Clinton isn't bad.
where did you get married?
In my apartment, in our apartment, my father was ill and was in a wheelchair. And so we lived on the 7th floor, and my mother felt that we had a big dining room and living room back to back, so that was where we were going to have the wedding. We had a couple of funny things though. We were ordering stanchions to hold the chuppah up. The stanchions we got were police stanchions.
Or what?
Police stanchions. Bernard, we didn't have wine, so they had to run back to Horty's house to get wine. My uncle opened up Bernard's luggage, and all he was interested in how many pairs of underpants he took with him. It was all very funny. Unfortunately, that morning, the elevator stopped. And I had to run to find the superintendent who didn't live in the house, who lived, I guess, at 100 and some odd street. I had to go get him to go and arrange for the elevator. It was very hectic. I lost my appointment from having to have my hair done. And, but everything turned out all right. The elevator was all right. Somebody gave me their spot to have my hair done. And the stanchions held up the chuppah very well. We had a good wedding. My uncle sang, he was an actor, so he had a chance to put a song about the wedding.
His name?
His name, Gene, his stage name was Gene Doyle. He was Gene Taubin. But it was a very happy wedding. My father was able to see me married, and within a month he died, so it was the shit.
Right. You were married in the conservative synagogue, in other words. The rabbi who married you was a conservative rabbi?
Yes. I remember which one it was.
When you say you go sailing, where do you do your sailing?
Well, in the summer, we sail on our boat. We have a 32-foot sailboat now. We sailed as far as Maine, Narragansett Bay, which is just lovely, out to the Cape, down as far as down the Hudson. So in this particular area, all of Long Island Sound. In the winter, we crew on a friend, or have crewed on a friend's boat and gone as far as Florida, Antigua, Trinidad, and then when we stop crewing, we go down and spend 2 weeks at these wonderful places.
So you're quite a sailor yourself?
Yes. We teach. Both Bernard and I taught advanced piloting.
Oh.
There's a whole series of courses that you have to take as a Power Squadron member, United States Power Squadron.
Which is where?
Which is 52,000 people over the entire United States. And we have a Stanford Power Squadron, which is one of 19 in the immediate area, as far as Champlain and in our district. Bernard and I were both commanders of the squadron. I was the first woman commander. And Bernard became commander. Then I was district education officer. Then he was district education officer. Then I was on national. So I played a long role as far as education. In fact, I was able to put through the children's program for the United States Power Squadron, which I give now to a number of schools.
Where is this?
Where
Where is this, what are they teaching? Where does that go on?
I teach 7 schools in Stanford, 2 sessions each on boating safety. It's 4th and 5th graders. There's a program called Young Mariners that
What's
I've
it
been
called?
doing. Young Mariners. It's I've been doing this since I think it was 2003.
So it's taught in the school system?
After school.
At the schools?
Mm-hmm.
Is it part of the education
No,
system?
no, it's a separate program given at the school, but it's funded by a foundation, it now called the Young Mariners Foundation.
And is there a big interest for this?
Well, we do over 117 kids every year.
Really?
We've done thousands by now. I'm quite excited about it because it's for children who would not normally be involved in it. Children that I guess are underprivileged, if you want to talk about it that way. They have a winter program and they have a summer program, so it makes a big change in their lives. It goes on at Yearwood, it goes on at the center, it goes on at, as I say, about I think it's 6 or 7 schools.
So it gives them something special that they wouldn't ordinarily
They learn to
have.
swim, which they might not. They go out on boats. They have a summer program where they learn to sail. Not everybody takes it, but it's a very exciting program. I'm thrilled with that one.
How old are the children who take
4th
it?
and 5th graders, so figure 11, 12, 10, 11, 12.
From all walks of life?
Yes. It's a worthwhile program, and the part we give is the part that I was able to do nationally, so I feel good about that.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
Do you know that Bernard and I started the Hebrew High School,
No, I didn't know that.
that's Merkaz Torah that we started,
I didn't
that is
know
now Colano? We started it because we felt 2 reasons. Education stopped as soon as they were confirmed or bar bat mitzvah.
Right.
And we wanted it to continue. So we got, and there were 3 rabbis and 3 lay people that got together and pulled it off. And it's been going since. So to me, that's one of the, and I became chairman, I was, helper, I became chairman again, but I was on the board for 18 years.
That's wonderful. How many children are involved?
Well, it varies. Right now, they have, in Kulana, they said over 100. We had sometimes as low as 50. It didn't matter, just as long as, and what was exciting about it was that children from all the synagogues came, or even if they had never been, involved in education. And we had all the rabbis teaching, and we tried to reach them in different ways. We had cooking, we had trips down to Delancey Street, we also had history. One of the people who was excellent when he taught, of course, was Rabbi Ehrenkrantz. He was able to reach the kids as well as the adults.
It's interesting because he was not always able to reach them.
No, well, they were older. Remember, they were high school people, so
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, because there was a time where he did not relate to the
To
young
that.
people at all.
That's right.
Yeah. And who else taught that?
Just, Hammond must have taught. Adler taught. There was,
Adler, I'm sure, was very good.
oh, he was wonderful. I was bar mitzvahed under. Remember,
Yes, I remember that. Yes.
that was the first bat mitzvah that they
Yes.
had at Agudath. I requested it because all my good friends in the other synagogues were being bat mitzvahed.
Yes, I remember when you had that bat mitzvah.
There were 4 of us.
Yeah, and who else? Who else taught?
Who else taught? I'm trying to think. When Steinhorn was there, he taught. Pierce taught. Whoever was the rabbi at the synagogue.
Rabbi Walk, does he teach?
He must have taught there. Sure
Yeah,
he did.
I'm sure he must be very good.
He must have. They aren't getting as many rabbis right now. I went back. I wasn't on the board at all for a while when Kulana got started, and I requested to go back on the board. So I'm back on the Kulana board,
Well, that was funded by the Zinbargs.
partially. They only have a portion of it. I thought it was synagogues pay. Every synagogue gives money toward it,
Uh-huh.
and UJF gives money toward it. So Zimbarg is only a small portion,
Only a small portion.
but it's nice to have.
Anything you can think that I haven't touched on?
You haven't touched on my community.
Now let me.
And really also the synagogue.
You've been vice president.
Yes, and I was on the board. I think I figured over 20 years I've been involved in the synagogue in terms of, well, I started out because my children went for honey and apple when we first moved here. They used to do it over at the school.
Right.
And I went crazy because of what happened. They got it all over them, and it was a rush. It wasn't, from a school teacher point of view, not very well organized. And that's how I started, and I ended up at that point becoming chairman of the school committee. Then I went on the board, and I was on the board you're only allowed, I think it's twice, and then you have to get off. And when I got off, Bernard got on. And then when he got off, I got on. So we alternated over the years. And then I became secretary of the shul, and then I became vice president twice. So I was very much involved with all that went on.
You like the direction our synagogue is taking?
I see which direction it's taking. And I'm satisfied being there, because I know everybody of the more from group. It'll be different, that's for sure, for all of us.
Yes,
But I guess, life goes on.
I guess so.
And they have to be able to, I would guess, keep it going and have it successful. Because I worked with Rabbi Dratch and Rabbi Cohn, because I was involved with personnel while I was on the board a lot of the time. And what else did I do there?
You never became president.
It was a big decision, truthfully, that Bernard and I had. It was just at the time that there was trouble with Dratch and Alexander, and my name and Howard Rothman's name were the 2 people that they were considering. And Bernard and I thought very carefully, and we felt Howard would be very good, and Bernard preferred me not to. So between the 2, he was on the board that agreed, that made the decision. So he and I both felt that this was the right thing at the right time, because he wasn't quite well. I had thought about it, and I think I would have enjoyed doing it. So Shul has played a very big part. And I must say, during this period of time, they've been wonderful to me. They've been very gracious in including me in a lot of activities and at their homes, so it was a good place to be for me. The next part that you left out was the community.
Yes.
We were very involved politically.
How?
Well, Bernard was on 2 commissions. He was on the Commission for Disabilities here in the city and in the state. And I was Board of Ed for 2 terms. And then I was on the planning board for, let me see, how long? Planning board, I think I was on for, I'm not quite sure, 12 years.
What years are you talking about?
I'd have to go and look. We could take a minute, I have the plaques that go with it. I know the school board I was on in 81 during that period of time, so in the 70s and 80s. And then after that, the planning board. And then now I'm on the board of assessment appeals. I'm chairman of that board. So I've always stayed in politics in one form or another.
Regardless of the party?
Well, I've always been a Democrat, that I will say. They take me as I am. But I've enjoyed the politics. Actually, I enjoyed the running. When I ran for the Board of Ed, it was a fun time because you go and meet all kinds of people in the different groups. Bernard and I used to go there and we'd do the Irish dance and then we'd do the Italian program.
Tarantella.
Right. And where else did we go? Those were the ones that stick out in my mind anyway. It's hard work when you're on the board, that I will say.
It's very time consuming.
Very time consuming. I used to be at work and then I'd come home. I wouldn't even come home, I'd go right to the board meeting on
You
those
say
nights.
at work, what?
I taught at City College.
Oh, I
I was a
see.
professor down there.
You taught all this time in City College while you commuted from New York? Just from Stanford?
Yeah, I started out teaching at Joan of Arc Junior High School.
Right.
Then I became the assistant principal at 123rd Street and First Avenue, tough school. And I was math coordinator for all of Manhattan and the Bronx for a while. And then I went into teaching at college. I started out at NYU, and then I switched to City College. And that's where I retired sometime in about 86. So I did a lot of teaching for a long time.
What did you teach?
Only math.
What?
Mathematics.
Only math.
After I got through with the art. No, I love the teaching of math. It's been a pleasure. What else can I, let me take a look. I did look at some of the things that I thought I might want to talk about, if you don't mind.
No. Stop it.
It's okay.
Had enough?
No. No.
By the way, the one board, you know, when you go opposite the elevator with the temple,
Yes.
with the rabbi, that's my board. I arranged that
Oh.
with all the, first it was just Rabbi Ehrenkrantz, and we felt it should represent the entire synagogue from the first president on. I feel very proud of that board.
Okay.
It's history.
I didn't realize you had arranged that.
Oh, yeah. They gave me that job, and then, but it worked out well. What else did I have that was really important? Oh, we were honored by the synagogue as, it wasn't leaders. The cup's over there, so I should be able to, you know which one it is? It's a tzedakah cup.
Distinguished service.
Distinguished service. Thank you. You were there. I'm just trying to think, there are a couple of things that are really important. can I say I trained my dog through, I had 3 standard schnauzers, and the last 2 became companion dogs, and this latest Perry is doing agility.
Yeah.
And we've been involved in the Schnauzer club all these years,
Yeah.
among other things.
Do you see how they're bred, or how were you involved?
We needed something that was, friends of ours wanted to give us a dog, and we did not want them to give us a dog. So we did the investigation. We wanted something that wasn't, what is it called? When you, allergic. We have enough allergies in the house, so we wanted a non-allergic dog. We wanted one with spirit, which I think we overdid. But, so we got the first dog, and then of course, as one died, we weren't gonna get a second, but we got the second. And this last one, who is now, she's 9 years old, we were sure we would never get this dog, because we wanted to travel. We have done a lot of traveling, which I never mentioned, did I?
Where have you traveled?
Well, we started, as I said, we were down at the Caribbean during the winters. We every year took some trip, but we took 2 trips to Israel with Mr. S, and they were wonderful trips. We took a trip to Greece, Turkey. Most of the time we took cruises. We started cruises when young people didn't go on cruises. It was in 1955 was our first cruise. And it was down south, and I will remember how cold it was, because if you left from New York, it was cold until you got 2 days down. So 9-day cruise was half cold and half warm. The interesting part, in those days, you had parties before you left.
Yes.
First party we had was in our cabin. And the only reason that Bernie was willing to go on a cruise, he insisted that we have to have a porthole and a bathroom ahead. These were his 2 requirements. Once we had that, we were able, he was accepting it. And we had a party for the whole crowd in our cabin, and when we came up to wish them the goodbye as they were standing on the dock, Bernard said to me, "We better go down and clean up that cabin. People would be annoyed." We went down, and of course, as you know and I know, the cabin was perfectly clear. The next year we had the party in one of the lounges. So after that, people weren't allowed on boats soon after that. But we were seen off quite regularly. We got to London. That was an interesting one. I had just been operated on, and I was on chemo, the first shot of chemo, and we had planned to go to London. So we went with what's the worst thing that can happen? Nothing bad happened, but I did a lot of resting. We went to London because there was a boat show in London that we had to go to, which we went to. We had a wonderful time. It was something that I'm glad we did.
Where else have you been?
Out west. Power Squadron takes you all over the country, because we went to all the national meetings. So we were in San Francisco, we were in Vancouver. Oh, I forgot the Alaska trip. That was great, but that was our trip. Los Angeles, down to Mexico. We were in Texas, San Antonio for a convention. We were in Cleveland for a convention. We were in Florida for many conventions.
Did you take a boat to Alaska?
Yes, of course. We took the boat from Vancouver up to Anchorage, and then we took a trip up to Denali. They were lovely trips, and as you can see, we liked the boat. We lost our luggage on more trips than you can count. We lost our luggage on the trip from Los Angeles down to Mexico. It was flown to us. The first night I had to borrow clothing. Well, those are kind of fun times. I guess I've sort of given you a view of the various things that we've done. I'm sure I didn't cover everything. But it's smattering.
Well, you've had an interesting life.
I've had a wonderful, exciting life.
Yes.
And a fun life and a happy life.
What sort of, in your family, do you observe Jewish holidays?
We keep a kosher home. We do celebrate all the holidays. I guess the one that we have the most fun with is Hanukkah. Hanukkah, we have the entire extended family. It comes to anywhere between 40 and 55 people. And we all celebrate, light the candles, have the usual good food. For example, I make 150 to 200 latkes, and everybody brings in outstanding food.
From scratch, do you make them?
Yes. Yeah, that's that. And we have a full meal afterwards from, what is that? Noodle pudding to spaghetti. It's all dairy, which solves our problem. Spaghetti and meat, not spaghetti and meat, what's it called? Macaroni and cheese. That's for the children, but the adults eat it as well. Salads, lox and bagels, and then a large lox. And then we have desserts, which were pecan pie, meringue pie, fruit, and everyone brings in something at this point. That's Hanukkah. This year we had a talent show.
A what?
A talent show.
Oh,
So that we've added each year, and it's gone on since 1970 some odd. So this year we took pictures of the children, the young children. Then we took pictures of the now parents, and we took pictures of the grandparents. We have the three groups, so that we all celebrated well
what are the
together.
three groups?
The children,
Oh, I see.
up until about 16, and then we have the next group that are in their, I guess, 30s and 40s. And then the last group have to be at least, let's put them in the 60s and up. One of the people that's part of the set that should be mentioned in there, I guess, is Muriel Siskin, because she's one of the,
Who is this?
Muriel Siskin. She's a Stanford native, and I guess the matriarch at the moment. I'm next in line, I guess. And then, of course, we have large Passover, but that's more immediate family. That's only about 20 someone. So I would say we do attend synagogue. I attend almost every week, regularly. Right now, since Bernard died, I am saying Kaddish, and also visiting Temple Bethel on Mondays for Minyan with, can I mention you? Gail Trell. We go as a team, thanks to her. And then, and I do continue studying. That I didn't mention. Melton. Bernard and I took 2 years at Melton, and we graduated in May. And that's why when, in September, I went to Israel on the Melton program.
What's the Melton program?
The Melton program is a program from Hebrew University for adult learning, and it covers ethics and rituals and history, and you go once a week for 2 years, and what can I say within it? And there's
Who teaches it now?
Well, Delaney, what's her first name?
Alana.
Alana Delaney, Bob Abrams taught, Donnie, what was his name?
Edelman.
Edelman taught, Eric Hoffman taught. We now have else was there? I think I've covered the ones that we had.
Liz Roll.
Oh, of course, Liz Roll. Thank you. History was very important. We had a marvelous time. There were only 6 of us in the class. That was all. My son Lee now does all the pictures.
Who has it?
Photographer.
Photographs of most of the occasions that go on at JCC. So we keep coming back to religion in one form or another.
And the fact that you enjoy teaching so much.
Oh, there's nothing like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been following.
If you enjoy it, it's wonderful.
Right. And you accomplish so much because if you're happy and enjoy the subject, you can get other people to feel the
That's
same
right.
way. Yeah, I've done quite a bit of tutoring in Stanford. And I have many people that are come back and tell me how happy they are and that they don't love math, but they liked it when I did it.
When you teach math, what actually do you teach?
Any level.
Any level?
When I was teaching full time, then I was teaching advanced math. I was teaching non-Euclidean geometry and calculus and all the higher subjects. But here, anything you need, I can do, which makes it nice.
Well, Anne, I want to thank you for allowing us to come into your home and interview you. And we will have a DVD for you to enjoy with your family. And this has been very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you for doing it. I really do appreciate your inviting me to come, inviting me to do it. I really hadn't thought so much about what we had done, and you kind of put everything in place.
Well, it becomes part of the Jewish archives at our Historical Society. And hopefully future generations will find all these videos useful.
I hope so. I think so. For somebody, when you said which we didn't talk about, when I first took the kids down to Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts, there were only 5 kids on High Ridge. Now you have 5 every 5 minutes.